Hello everyone, and welcome to I was going to say a quick little video. It's probably not going to be quick. I've got 2.5 pages of notes. But welcome to a video talking about the updates that have happened so far this month, which happened on the 4th and the 11th. That's providing you're on PC. It would have been yesterday you had an update. If you're on console, it'll be tomorrow on the 13th of December that you get this update. But there was a lot of stuff in this, so I'm going to talk about them. There's also another potential update on the 18th, although this doesn't seem completely guaranteed, so there might be another one in a week's time. Now, before I talk about yesterday or tomorrow's update, depending on which platform you're on, I want to talk quickly about the update on the 4th, because the big change to that was the stash limit was raised from 400 to 600, which is just lovely. Hopefully they raise it again very soon, maybe on the 18th, if not hopefully in January. Because more stash limit is just lovely to have. There were various minor details made in that change as well, lots of bugs and glitches fixed and all of that standard stuff. And workshops got worse, which was, yay, tons of fun. Before you used to be able to put down like an iron extractor on an iron resource node and you'd get iron scrap. Now you get ore, which then has to be taken to a chemistry station and combined with acid to be actually made into the scrap. Basically adds another step into using the resources and makes them a lot slower and just a lot worse, and they already weren't that great. Onto this patch though, and we've got the standard bug fixes and stability and all of that stuff, but I'm going to focus on the big changes here. If you do want to know about all the bug fixes, just read through the patch notes is the best thing, because there's a lot of them are very minor. I'd say at least maybe 3/4 of them I haven't encountered, and at least half of them I haven't even heard of. So there's a lot of little stuff being fixed. First up is Field of View, which goes from 70 to 120. And it's set at a standard of 80, and most of my footage, or a decent bit of my footage at least, I don't think I've got enough to fill this whole video, but a lot of my footage you'll be watching at is at 90 Field of View. I played around with it a bit and I quite liked it. You can change it at intervals of 5 to 70, 75, 80, 85, etc. all the way up to 110, 115, 120. Play around with it, see what you like. 70 is obviously a lot more zoomed in and focused. 120 is stupidly big. Like, it'll be nice for a few cinematic shots, I think, but it seems a bit fish-eyed is the problem. So I quite like 90 just because it gives me a little bit more field of view, but without it being ridiculous. There is also a depth of field slider, which changes the depth of field, so how blurry things at a distance are. This honestly isn't that big of a deal, I don't think. I haven't heard anyone complain about depth of field, and I've left mine at default. The thing that I was hoping to see was a brightness slider, but that has not been added yet, which is a bit of a pain, because I would have liked that. We also now have push to talk on PC. I realised from reading through the patch notes that I've literally never used push to talk on PC before. So that's going to be fun for me to experiment with, I guess. I'm no doubting that at some point whilst playing with friends, I will accidentally hit the button or forget to hit the button and just be talking to myself for ages, with them not being able to hear. But it's a good change for everyone who likes having push to talk, and it is overall a good thing to just have that included. On to the camp now, where there have been several improvements. The biggest one is small objects will be removed when building if they're in the way. So before, if there was like, oh, there's a tiny little tree stump here so you can't place the object there, that tree stump now gets removed and the object is able to be placed there. This is incredibly helpful for actually getting you to build your camp the way you want to. There's no more having to work your way around tiny little objects. Instead, they'll just vanish, you can put your camp there, everything's all good. Additionally, it used to be the case of you'd spawn into a server, and if someone had built where your camp was, your camp just disappeared and went into your inventory and you had to place it somewhere else. Now, you will apparently be notified if someone has built where your camp is as you're spawning into the server. And then you can choose to either spawn in and have it the same as last time where you can place your camp somewhere else for free, or you can go to another server and hopefully no one will have built where you have. Which is a very nice change. I tried a few times to get this to trigger, but quitting and joining, nobody had built where I had, so I wasn't able to capture footage of what this looks like. Something I have been able to capture footage though is special respec. You can now change special points after level 50. I am very happy about this, because my main character is running 12 charisma, which is way too much. Even for a charisma build, I feel like 9 is more than enough. So I'm going to be swapping out my special points a bit, although I haven't worked out exactly how I'm going to do it. But now, whenever you level up after level 50, you can either pick a perk, like you would standardly, or you can move a special point. So you select first off the special point you want to reduce, and then you select the special you want to increase, and it just does that. And I think I showed, yeah, there should be some footage showing me reducing charisma and raising luck, because that seems like a smart thing to do. It also did say in the patch notes that this doesn't work for levels you've already gained. However, that's wrong. I'm level 100 and something or other, and I specifically saved up about a dozen or so perk points for special respecking, and it works just fine. So if you've been saving up perk points, you can use them to change your special about. Additionally, as kind of a graphical one, lighting's been improved a bit. Things do look a bit better. I noticed it most of all, apparently its exterior lighting has just been tweaked a little bit. I noticed walking through a certain cave system where it had lots of areas that are open to the actual natural light. Things just looked a bit better and a bit more balanced there, where before it was either very dark or very bright. Everything just flows a little nicer. This isn't like a huge change, but the lighting is one of the best things in this game, to be honest, so always good when there's little improvements to it. Now, on to talking about loot. We now have less .308 ammo drop, which honestly isn't that big of a deal, especially if you're a sniper who uses .308, because it's quite easy to make in bulk. You're not using that much of it. If you're using, I believe it's the LMG uses .308, then that's going to be a bit of a problem. You will struggle a bit more with finding that ammo. Super Mutants have had a fair few changes to them. They now drop less gunpowder, although that's not a huge deal. I generally picked up about half the amount of gunpowder off of Super Mutants I found, because it weighs a fair bit. There's less loot in general on them, so just the less of the additional stuff you always used to find, because Super Mutants were great for just farming for general loot, caps, etc. And there's now guaranteed caps on them up until level 16. So every single Super Mutant you find, I'm not sure if that's up to player level 16 or Super Mutant level 16. I'd assume Super Mutant level, but I'm not certain. But basically, early level Super Mutants will be a good source of getting caps. Now, onto a bit of a Scorched Earth one. The Scorched Beast Queen lands more often. This is quite good. My last encounter with the Scorched Beast Queen, I happened to be playing solo. I was running melee, so I barely got to fight her. Annoyingly, maybe 3/4 of the people in the blast zone were also running melee, so understandably we weren't able to kill her, because there was maybe 2 or 3 people who could shoot at her, and even they weren't doing it. So this will now make actually completing kind of a main quest of the game a lot more viable for melee characters. Now, workshops have had another nerf after the update last week. Building in them no longer earns experience. Honestly, it kind of feels like Bethesda's just trying to make workshops useless. Like, when the game first came out, I was kind of 50-50 on how good workshops were. I'd occasionally claim them if I thought I was going to be doing a long play session, and I hoped the server wouldn't crash, because I thought to myself, oh okay, I'll get some resources. Everything they've done so far to them just makes them worse, and makes me realise that claiming them and spending the caps to do that is not worthwhile. I really hope there's going to be some boosts to them in the future, because they really just kind of suck now. However, camp interface improvements have been added, so you can see how much stuff you have stored, which shows up in the budget bar in the top right, because if you didn't already know, stored items do use up space. So it will show you how much of your space used up is in stored items, which is really helpful if you've done what I've done in the past and accidentally built like half a dozen cooking stoves, forgetting that you've got them stored up, and then they're eating up all of your budget and you're wondering why you can't build. You can also select to only show what you can build whilst you're in the build menu, so I found this most useful with traps and the like, because if I don't have a home defense equipped, I can only make about 3 traps, however there's about 20 on the list, so I hit Q to toggle all the ones that are available, and all the ones that I can only just build. Something else I'm very happy about is the windmill, which now gives 12 power instead of 3. Before it was just like a small generator, just with kind of more expensive costs but different ones. Now it's a lot better. The windmill is now a very viable power source, and if you have it, I'd advise using it. I know it uses up aluminum, but I think other than that it might be like steel and wood or something like that. It's not that costly, and now it gives a decent amount of power, so definitely worthwhile considering as a power source for your camps. Events have been tweaked in a fair few different ways. There are a lot of little stuff for specific events that I'm not going to fully go into, but the general gist of it is XP rewards have been reduced for a lot of them, and cooldown timers have been increased. So expect to see slightly fewer events as you're just wandering about, and also get less experience for them. So events aren't quite as good for farming for levels and rewards and all the etceteras. One kind of nice thing that has been added as well is the AFK timer. Used to be you got kicked after 10 minutes and got a prompt after 1 minute. That's now been increased to being kicked after 30 minutes and warned at 3 minutes. I'm quite happy about this because I'd often forget about the AFK timer. I believe it was only added in the 4th of December patch, I want to say. Not 100% on that though. Because I'd often just leave my character asleep in the bed whilst workshop and resource gatherers were going on, and I'd come back like 15 minutes later and it would say, oh, you've been kicked, because I'd just forgotten about the AFK timer. Now you can leave the game for a bit just to gather resources, and it just will do that. So no worries now about going and fixing yourself a snack or cooking a pizza or something whilst you're just waiting for resources to gather, which I'm quite happy about. Now the compass can now show more stuff, more enemies, locations, players, etc. I had started to notice this, but wasn't really sure what was going on. Oftentimes, if you're in an area which has a lot of other locations around it, like Watoga, you're playing with a team, etc, etc, you might not be able to see all of the enemies on your compass. Now that the compass shows more stuff, you should be able to see more of the enemies, even in crowded and busy areas, which is just a nice little improvement, especially if you're someone who relies on the compass a lot. And as I said earlier, there have been a bunch of bugs and glitches fixed, like way too many for me to go into. This is going to be a fairly long video as it is. If I went into all of the bugs and glitches, it would double in length. So go check the patch notes if you want to see the specifics of those, or you could always ask in the comments, someone might know. Patch notes will be faster though. And yeah, a lot of those are fixed, which is good. Some of them are like more visual ones, some of them more performance based. There's a couple of infinite loading screens which are sorted, however I still managed to get an infinite loading screen, actually my first one of playing after the update, which kind of sucks. Something I noticed was certain items will no longer show just random colours instead of the animation, so I'd seen this before when you pick up certain magazines, they fixed some more stuff with that, and the flamethrower trap was a big one, because I used to love setting those off and you just got a weird hexagon of colour instead of the actual flame animation, so that's now fixed. Another minor one is wind chimes can now be attached correctly. I was quite happy about this, because about 2 days ago I was trying to attach wind chimes to everything and it wasn't working. Now it does! Yay! Onto enemies, and bee swarms are no longer invisible, which is quite nice. You can actually see the enemy you're fighting, which does help. Honeybees drop less adhesive on death, so they're not very good for farming for adhesive anymore if you were doing that. I've honestly not had any problems with adhesive so far this game. And the Myalurk Queen's acid attack has been nerfed. I am really happy about this. Because the Myalurk Queen could, even when I was in like full Ultra Sight power armor, if it hit me with an acid attack, I just had to spam Stimpaks in order to stay alive. Because that thing could one-shot you, unless you were really, really tough, quite easily. It was kind of ridiculous. Like, it should do plenty of damage, but it shouldn't be a case of, oh, if I get hit once, I'm dead. Considering what the enemy balance is like on this game, it was a bit severe. Now, bobbleheads and magazines spawn 16% more often. I don't know about you, but I didn't have too much problem finding bobbleheads and magazines too much, but I guess if you're in areas that get a lot of traffic through them, this is quite good for having chances for them to still have bobbleheads or magazines. There's been a lot of exploits fixed, so if you're someone who liked all the duplicating or doing random server hopping for caps or whatever the current exploits are, they're getting patched. Do expect this. I hear a lot of people talking about, oh, I'm just going to use this exploit, or oh, I'm just going to use these glitches to work for me. All of this stuff, well, most of this stuff will be getting patched. Don't rely on exploits for anything, because they'll get fixed, is the simple way of it. Serums should now work properly. I have used a mutation serum before, and it worked perfectly fine for me. However, I did hear some people saying that serums didn't work for them, so now they've apparently been fixed. So should work for everyone. Something I had noticed before is sometimes when you fast travel to where an event is, the event won't actually start for you. It now should start for you, so yay! And something I'm very, very happy about, and which was talked to me quite a bit about in the comments, is Fix It Good and Weapon Artisan now actually work. So instead of them just being a case of you get hit once and your bonus durability goes away, they now give the correct amount of bonus durability. I'd made a couple of builds which used these, and I had so many people in the comments saying, oh, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I had from the start kind of been like, well, it will get patched, so I'm not too worried about that. So guess what, my builds are now better, yay! I'm quite happy about that. Now, Green Thumb no longer works on Mothman eggs. Mothman eggs cooked up were quite a good source of charisma, and I also use them for healing, because with Green Thumb you got a ridiculous amount of them. So you'll now get half as many Mothman eggs if you've got that perk equipped. Not a big deal though, there's a lot of them lying around by Point Pleasant. Heavy Gunner no longer affects the auto grenade launcher, and the shotgun perks no longer affect the M79 grenade launcher. This is something else I got a lot of people commenting about. That no longer works. Yeah, expect these changes. Don't count, if anything seems a bit out of place, don't expect it to be there forever. Strange in Numbers has also been fixed. It was occasionally giving a 50% boost instead of a 25% boost. That's just another small change to the game. PvP has been altered. High level weapons should deal correct damage now. Apparently there was an issue where certain high level weapons just didn't deal damage correctly, or any damage sometimes, so that should be sorted. And PvP should be working better between teams. I can't comment too much on this because I've engaged in very little PvP in the game so far, but these sound like good changes. Do let me know in the comments if you've played a lot of PvP and have been experimenting with it since the update, how it's working out. Something I have seen, and I'm quite happy about, is a bit of an update to the social menu. Friend lists are reordered, so now that you'll have, instead of it just being, oh, here's all your friends, and there's online ones and offline ones and main menu ones all scattered about, at the very top you'll have people who are online in your own world, which is quite good if you want to fast travel to a teammate but you don't know exactly where they are and can't find them on the map. Just boot up the social menu, find them at the top of the list, and fast travel to them. You'll then have people who are just online in a different world, then I believe it's people who are in the main menu, then people who are offline. So it sorts itself out so that you can actually see who's about, who might be available to play with, instead of having to scroll through a friends list. Which if you've got like dozens of friends, I imagine is quite a pain. Instead you can just see nice and quickly who's online, who's offline, what's going on. Very nice stuff. You can also unblock friends if you've accidentally blocked them, which is just quite a nice feature. I know a few times I've almost clicked on the wrong thing in the friends menu, so it's good to know they're adding ways to... I almost swore then, to unmess up things, yes. If you made a mistake, you can go back on it, that's great. Teams have been tweaked as well, so if a team leader leaves as you're joining, you won't be on a team on your own. I saw this a lot when I join onto a team with a friend, and they disconnect as I was joining, or it would send me to the wrong world or something like that. Then I was apparently on a team with them, but we were in different worlds, or it got weird. That should be fixed. Additionally, holotapes can now be automatically played when using the Quick Boy interface. I always use the Quick Boy interface. This isn't as in when you've got it up, this is just if you have it as your default thing. You used to pick up a holotape and it would just give static instead of playing it. Now it should play it. Now, there are a lot of various other updates, but I'm not going to focus on them too much here, as they're not important, I want to say, but they are still important, but just for time purposes, this is almost 20 minutes long. Have a look at the patch notes if you need to know more about it, but overall, those are the big changes, I'd say. There's also, Bethesda have been doing, what's it called? Oh, I've got to check the name of it now. Inside the Vault, where they talk about the patches they've had, they'll talk about what's coming up in future patches, so on and so forth. In that, they have said that the next update might happen on the 18th, so not long to wait for that, and then at the start of next year we should start seeing new content added, as well as bugs and stability fixes and all the stuff we're used to. So actual new content coming next year, no idea exactly when next year, but probably January, hopefully. However, that's pretty much it for the past 2 updates, I guess. What do you want to see in future updates, and what are you most happy about in this one? I know there's a lot of stuff I'm happy about in this one, although I am quite miffed about workshops. I may end up making a video about them at this point, because I am getting annoyed by them. As always though, thank you very much for watching. Sarge out.